ever woke up with bullfrogs on you? Bullfrogs on you. I mean, mind, have you ever woke up? Bullfrogs on your mind. Have you ever woke up with bullfrogs on your mind? Well, I left you standing in your back door, in your back door. I mean crying, well, I left you standing in your back door crying. Well, look, you standing in your back door crying. Look here, partner, see what you done, see what you done. I mean to me, well, look here, partner, see what you done to me. Oh, look here, partner, won't you see what you done to me? Gonna tell you this time, and ain't gonna tell you no, ain't gonna tell you no. I mean more, gonna tell you this time, ain't gonna tell you no more. Gonna tell you this time, and I ain't gonna tell you no more. For the sun gonna shine in my back door, sun, my back door, sun. I mean, there where the sun gonna shine, my back door someday. Well, the sun gonna shine in my back door someday. Got the bullfrog blues and I can't be satisfied, can't be satisfied. I mean, if I got the bullfrog blues, can't be satisfied. Got the bullfrog blues and I can't be satisfied. Bullfrog blues. Today we have for you in show 101, we have clips, musical clips from show number 2. Yes, in show number 100, we had songs from show 1. Here we are in show 101, and we're going to have songs from show number 2. Partly because the lighting wasn't right, and I can fix the lighting now. Partly because the sound sounded like I recorded it in a closet, and now I can add reverb and a couple of accentuations and discouragement. Sit back. I'll just sit back this way. Yep. I wonder which one is on the screen now. Let's see. You know, I can't see quite well enough to see behind my head in the tiny little monitor that's mounted on the camera. Ah, now I can. Yes. Now I know which camera is looking at me, looking at the back of my head. I'll tell you, it'll be very easy to splice words in if you're only looking at the back of somebody's head. You know that in so many movies they use a Foley operator, which means they re-record all the stuff that people say in the movie because of various background noise and stuff. You know, you could never make a recording in your house the way your house is, because as soon as you turn on the microphone, it would pick up the motor humming in the refrigerator, and it would drown out anything you said. So you have to unplug the refrigerator or re-record it later. A Foley operator. The first guy who did it was Foley, of course, and he was very good as far as I know. And I don't know much about the Hollywood history. The history of Hollywood technicians. Okay, now let's have the rear shot. And from the studios of LCA TV, as you can see, it's 1:52. It's been a while. Geez, this reminds me of a basset hound's ears or something. I guess there are many different aspects of sweatshirts and hoodie sweatshirts, and I don't know about them. I don't know a heck of a lot. Hey, look, the wall is blue in there. There's a lot of blue. There's a lot of blue here today. Maybe I should make the lettering red for the credits. I'm not sure. I don't know. What's that third camera look like with me down in the corner? Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, I think this is a real good angle for the last part of the tape, where I run out of tape and credits are appearing above my head. They're saying stuff like, don't listen to this guy, just tune in next week. Thanks to this person, thanks to that person. It's a 1111 production, as you may know. If you ever want to see all 100 shows, all of the other 100 shows, this being 101, simply go to lcatv.org, and with a little dicking around, you can find the series page of Messing Around. And it has all my shows. I don't suggest you watch the first shows, though, because they're so beginning. First shows were completely unedited. Yes, show number 1, show number 2, all the way up to about show number 40. You will also notice, or perhaps you won't notice, or perhaps you wouldn't have noticed that I am missing a tooth. I am missing a tooth for the entire first year of this show. There were those who would think it was embarrassing, and perhaps they've never had a missing tooth as an adult. A lot of people with missing teeth. And if they're lucky, they get their teeth fixed. I saw somebody just the other day in a movie who had such beautiful teeth, I knew that they were not his. And it's very interesting. I guess people don't talk about their teeth much. But since I'm going to show you so many songs where I'm missing a tooth, I just thought I'd say something. And I can always come in later and edit most of this out. I especially like to edit out the lines where I say I'm going to edit something out. Well, that just shows how much I know. But next time when I think of it, I'll think of it. That's very coherent. You really should be a TV host. Okay, now let's just do this other song because I got to get to work. Pink Anderson. Okay, Pink Anderson, his name was Pinkney Anderson. And he played for a long time. He played medicine show songs, he played blues, he played all kinds of things. And there's a great CD, used to be a rare LP, from 1956 called Gospel, Blues, and American Street Songs, I believe. One side is Pink Anderson, and one side is Gary Davis, the Reverend Gary Davis, blind Gary Davis. And it's a great album, and Pink Anderson is a lot more excited and youthful than he is over 10 years later when he recorded 3 albums for Prestige, which are also available now. But Pink Anderson and Floyd Council were named on a Blind Blake record. In the liner notes, Pink Anderson and Floyd Council, and Syd Barrett read the album liner notes and named the Pink Floyd. So this is Pink Anderson's song, I Got Mine. And I have to say that $40 is mentioned. $40 in 1930. What would it be today? So I looked it up. Basically, it's like $500. Okay, I got mine. Well, I fell into a big crap game. It certainly was against my will. Lost every doggone nickel I had, but a greenback dollar bill. $40 lay on the floor, and my buddy's point was 9. But when the police come, they got all of them, but I got mine. Yes, I got mine. Let me tell you, I got mine. I grabbed that money and out the back door I went flying. Ever since that big crap game, I've been living on chicken and wine. I'm a leader in high society since I got mine. Now I went down to my best girl's house, and the hour was just about 9. I wasn't dressed up like Henry Ford, but I was feeling just as fine. I caught her sitting on another man's knee. I didn't like that sign, so I told that man what I thought of him, and I got mine. Yes, I got mine. Let me tell you, I got mine. I grabbed my hat, as out the window I went flying. He picked up a shotgun and he used it mighty fine. Talk about a rascal running you. I got mine. I got mine. There you go. I got mine. We have room so that I can tell you that story today. Okay, let's see what I've written about Jimi Hendrix. I heard about Hendrix when his first album came out in England, and one of the import copies came into my hands. It was astoundingly good. The experience came to town to work up some word of mouth before the record was released in the States. They opened for a half dozen acts at different clubs around New York City. Dave Garber, where are you now, Dave? Dave Garber, who lent me the album, told me about a show that night at the Cafe A Go-Go in the Village. I sat at a table about 7 or 10 feet from the stage in the front row. Whoa. Charisma. It was hard to believe this guy could get those sounds out of a guitar. They were incredibly loud in the tiny club, of course, and they were kind of jet-lagged. And at the end, Noel Redding, the bass player, Noel Redding was so weary, he simply unhooked the strap from the bottom of his bass, and it crashed to the floor and provided their exit thundering feedback. Yes, back in the 60s, a lot of shows ended with one of the guitars feeding back, sitting in its guitar stand on stage, and it would just feed back until finally one of the stagehands came up to take their stuff down and get the next group together, and he would unplug it and stop it. But for a whole minute or two, it was just chaotic, loud noise. Oh, of course, at the beginning of the shows, you could hear everyone tuning. Even Jimi Hendrix, anyone. They went boing, 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 and they tuned audibly. In the dark, usually. They tuned in the dark, and then when they were set, they went over to their mics, and then they introduced the band, and the lights went on. Now, guitar tuners, man, they are the rage. I wish I could say that they've improved, but actually they've made them so cheap now. I've got a cheap one. It's not as good as the more expensive ones, I don't think. What do I know? Back to Jimi. I also saw them open for the Young Rascals at Central Park that week. But we couldn't get tickets, so we sat on a hill overlooking the arena. He put on basically the same show we had seen, with a long, Wild Thing and a long, Like a Rolling Stone. It was good. The Rascals were good too. They're a great band, in case you didn't know. The guitar player had great fancy footwork. Yes, Gene Cornish, I remember him, though he was quite a good guitar player, I remember him even more for his fancy dancing footwork. He was really good. Wonder what happened to him after the Rascals. I hope he had a good time. Nice guy. Gene Cornish. Okay. Oh, and they had no bass player. Felix played the organ pedals. That was the bass for the Young Rascals. Okay. The next experience show I experienced was at Hunter College, 59th Street, on the east side, a nice big auditorium. The opening act was the Soft Machine, wild jazz fusion trio, with the drummer Robert Wyatt wearing the briefest of swimming trunks. I had never seen anyone do anything like that. I mean, he was basically wearing a Speedo up there, if that means anything to you. And back in the 60s, no one had ever done that before. Okay, then Hendrix, who had just released his second album, Axis Bold as Love, he did only one song from that new album, Up From the Skies, which is the one that goes, I just want to talk to you. I won't do you no harm. It's about an alien landing or something. And the rest of the show was the same as I'd seen the previous year. It was, the first album, plus a couple of things like The Red House, which was a great blues that the American company saw fit to take off the album. They took off several things. They took off Remember. They took off The Red House. They put on his hit single, Foxy Lady, or was it Purple Haze? Anyway, a few of them they stuck they used to do that in America. They'd stick the singles on the album instead of figuring everybody already had the single, which they did in England. Wild Thing wasn't on the first Troggs album in England, I don't think. Wonder if anybody will find out I was wrong. Okay, now, back to the subject at hand. One of the songs was his hit, Purple Haze, biggest hit so far. He had some amplifier trouble, which stalled the show, and the police were hassling the front row people, and Hendrix taunted them. He kind of stuck out his tongue at the back of their head and made the crowd laugh. The show continued, finally. At the end, everybody clapped and yelled for an encore. After a long while, the band came back on stage and did Purple Haze again. and left. The crowd went wild again. Clapping, standing ovation, everything. And after a while, the band returned to the stage. Believe it or not, they did Purple Haze again and left. That was it. I think that proves that his attitude was already suffering some sort of breakdown. He was already disillusioned by the time the second album came out. I heard that a few years later he sat and watched TV in his dressing room until it was time for the show, which is it's pretty disillusioned. He and John Lennon, Jimi Hendrix and John Lennon, were the only singers I knew of then, before, or since, who would always chew gum while they sang. Yeah, I don't think I could, but they both chewed gum while they sang, and I guess they kind of stuck it in their jaw when they wanted to do some fancy enunciating. Well, Jimmy didn't do as much fancy enunciating as John did. Isn't that something? Yeah. Turn the beat around. Love to hear percussion. You remember that tune? It's sort of a tune. I always wondered why they didn't turn the beat around, because I know just what she means by turn the beat around. Perhaps you do too. Did you ever hear the beginning of You Really Got Me, where it goes da-na-na-na-na, da-na-na-na-na, and then within about 5 seconds it turns out that it's going da-na-na-na-na, da-na-na-na-na. It's wonderful. The Hive's first big hit, Hate to Say I Told You So, that starts with a turn the beat around. I love when they turn the beat around. You know, some of the most interesting musical listening experiences I've had was when I was in the other room listening to a record that I did not know was familiar. And it was on the edge of my hearing, so that I thought the beat was reversed and that it was a very interesting new tune I had never heard. And then at some point I realized that I was on the wrong side of the beat. I was on the wrong side, and it was a song that was very familiar and didn't go the way I was, and the whole thing was impossible to hold in my brain. As soon as it turned back around, I couldn't think of how it had been. Now, I only have a couple of minutes, so the sun is slowly sinking far beyond the rim of time, and my mind is slowly thinking about the girl I left behind. Oh, little girl, don't you ever be blue, 'cause where you go, I go with you. Call you on the phone, but I was drunk and I could not see. I fell right out of the phone booth. You know the blues had the best Oh, little girl, don't you ever be blue, 'cause where you go, I go with you. It's me again. And don't you love in the movies when they want to tell you somebody's crazy, you go to their place and they've written all over the walls? That's the only way they can communicate it. Either that or newspaper articles. If the guy has clipped 100 or 200 or 300 newspaper articles and he's put them on the walls of his bedroom, that is convincing proof that he's crazy. Very interesting. My other pet peeve, another pet peeve is the candles. Candles in movies. When people want to have mood lighting, they have candles. It symbolizes seduction. It symbolizes mystical references, and depending on the movie, it could symbolize the appearance of the devil. But they never have just a couple of candles. They have hundreds of candles, and they're all over the bathtub, and they're lining the bathtub and the shelves and on top of the cabinet or something, and they're up and down the bedroom. It's like, don't they get the idea that no one does that? You would be crazy to do that, to have 200 candles. Where does that fit into your budget? It's a poor person who's just going to end it all or something. But first they have to go out and buy 200 candles and carefully light them all in a room with no wind or breeze, and then they can have their mood. I mean, what is it with these people? Don't they know that people used to have just a couple of candles? People today, this very day, and it's a modern age we live in, they still have just a couple of candles when they have candles on. Am I wrong? But in the movies, it's different. Of course, this extends even further. If you go into a parking garage in the movies, it's because something bad is going to happen there. If you take a walk in the woods in the movies, it's because something bad is going to happen in there. There's a reason for each scene. The lathes were great. Scully lathes with which they cut the masters for records. Yes, I still wish to have a record. I wonder if I will get vinyl before my vinyl curtain call. Say, how's the time?